Yeah, hey everyone, it's me Romie here. So, we're back. This is the review for The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 8. 8 seasons of this, come on now. Episode 18, because what is the reunion? Part 1. So, first we have to get through the introductions, and how it starts off with is we're talking to the original 6 cast members for this season. So that's Phaedra, Cynthia, Kim Fields, Candy, Kenya Moore, and who the hell am I missing? Phaedra, Cynthia, Kenya Moore, Candy, Kim Fields, and whatever, and Portia. And so, how it starts off, like I said, is Portia, her sister, actually just gave birth to her little niece, and they had the picture to prove it, and it was just like, oh, how cute. And Candy, of course, gave birth to Eighth a little while back now, and she already snapped back. She already looks great, and I'm like, damn, Candy actually, as far as her waist and everything, it looks better than, let's say, even what was it, before she was pregnant. Because remember, she was a little uncomfortable with her weight, so she was trying to get back in shape. And I was like, okay, Candy, that's the perfect time to snap back. So shout out to her, because she looked fantastic. I mean, maybe I might even use that as the thumbnail for this particular video. But Kim Fields, they asked her what's going on with her. Everything's good. Phaedra, what's going on with her? Everything is good. Kenya, are you pregnant? I may or I may not be. So there is that, as far as, we know that Kenya most likely is pregnant at this point, but it's in that weird, maybe the first couple of months, so she's not trying to announce it just in case if there's, no. If anything goes wrong, we're not going to put that on the air, but just in case if anything goes wrong. So, I think I covered that. So I would start off where it talks about things like, I was like, okay, so who's the shadiest of this season? Well, Phaedra. We know Phaedra's really good for maybe not necessarily doing it to someone in their face, but, well, actually she does, but she's so sly with it that people don't catch it. Either they don't catch it or they don't care. So she gets away with it, unlike a lot of the other ladies. And then it's like, second place goes to Kim Fields, because really more so her confessionals, and also the interviews that I guess she did, period, for the promotion of the show, because that's when we got to see Kim Fields, I guess, again, relook at everything. It's just like, you know what, that bit, that this, that, and so with that mindset, maybe she's a little bit more forthcoming with her feelings and emotions. So yeah, as we go through this show, I will be, of course, looking at the TV, because there was so much that happened that honestly a lot of it is slipping my mind, so I am using the TV as a reference, so bear with me. Now, one of the main arguments, real stupid main arguments, is, oh, Phaedra's feeling a certain way because, no, not Phaedra, Kenya is feeling a certain way because Phaedra talked about how, oh, oatmeal face, and Andy with his shady self went and read off something that someone posted on Twitter about the oatmeal face comment. And Kenya was just on her, you know what, we need to stand together, formation must have come out by then, because that's how Kenya is trying to act. And it's really annoying. And it's just like, you know, to stand there and to talk about my skin and all, talk about my looks. She was like, no, you're very beautiful. I was talking about your skin, though. I was like, damn, Phaedra. Lethal. And so, Phaedra ended up just apologizing, because Phaedra doesn't care. Phaedra's in this point of, you know what? Apollo's in jail. I'm actually happy right now. Nothing can faze me, Kenya. I've already done all what I can with you as far as arguing. So, I'm not pressed. I'm not worried. Do you, boo? Do you? That's what I got from Phaedra, this whole part 1 of the reunion. And it was hilarious, because Kenya was also like, you know, as black women, as a dark-skinned black woman, first off, on the reunion, Phaedra looked darker than Kenya. So, Kenya had like this glimmer, the shimmer glimmer makeup where when the light was on her, she was like 3 to 4 shades lighter than when the camera was off of her and the light wasn't directly on her. So I couldn't tell that she wasn't darker than Phaedra. But aside from that, it was... And yes, Portia. So what do you think? Because Portia, of course, and Shamia were, you know, throwing little jabs at the fact that Kenya's at her hair shampoo launching, that she that Shamia drank the product because the product was water, and Kenya was quickly jumped in to say, well, you know what? People went home with gift bags with the product. And that product is going to be on the shelves within 6 months in CVS's all across America. So shout out to me. And you know, everyone's clapping for her because it's like, that is a boss move. That absolutely is a boss move. Shout out to her for being able to do so. I guess the product must be good because CVS isn't going to pick that up just because it's Kenya Moore. I mean, let's just be real for a second. It's not like it's Beyonce peddling something where even if it's only okay, everyone's going to pick it up just for the sales. But it was funny because Portia was unapologetic. She was like, I said what I said. I meant what I said. I don't care. I do not care. And he asked Kim if she was wearing underwear. She said, well, you're just going to have to wait and see. Yeah. So that was actually technically the first part. Oh, almost the first part of the part 1 of the reunion before the commercial. The last part to that was actually when Todd came out and he was just with Candy and they were going over Todd's part, and Candy was just defending Todd and saying how on TV it made it look really dramatic and really serious about, oh, he stepped out on the ultrasound when Candy was was there with Dr. Jackie and trying to figure out, look, is there something wrong with my with the baby? So he was like, no, it was a lot more dramatic how it was edited than in real life. And that made sense because it's not like she was making a huge deal about it. She was just asked an opinion. Candy's very honest. So Candy's going to say how she feels even if there's no malice intent behind it. It can be perceived that way. So there was that. And so that part was cleared up. Another thing, Cynthia was like, so he must have a cute big little head. And Ken's like, no, my baby is beautiful. He is perfect. Everything about him is beautiful, is handsome. So that's what we going with. Because you know how it is. It's like, she was playing off of the whole Mama Joyce. It's like, how can 2 big-headed people have a baby? That's Mama Joyce. So that's where she was coming up with that. Aside from that, we also talked about the finances and how it was hard because that partially messed up their relationship. It really did, because her and Phaedra, because of the fact that Todd was owed some money, they were going back and forth, and so that made things very awkward for Candy and Phaedra. But they were already having issues of their own. So it wasn't like, oh, it was just because of all Todd. No, they were having their own personal issues. And I think it really did start more so with what was going on with Apollo and how Phaedra felt about that. I know before that, there was a death in the family, I believe, on Candy's side. So Candy felt like, where was my friend then as well? Where's my friend? But it was cute that they also brought up the restaurant and they're hoping to launch it on Candy's birthday. And sorry for this damn lighting. This light bulb wants to give, but it will not do that on me. It will not do that on me. And Todd was just like, you know what? Shout out to Peter. Shout out to Cynthia, because this restaurant game is serious. And do you guys like the red, by the way? Yeah, anyway. This restaurant game is serious. It's a lot of work, you know, dealing with Bertha. He didn't personally say that, but I think Andy brought that up. And it's just a lot, as we all know. But apparently, I didn't realize that people felt a certain way giving birth, and so, yeah, we're going to speed this up because I talked way too much about that first part. So here's how it's going to go from here on out. What I remember is what we're going to go with. Whatever I forget, oh well. So Sheree joins up and is like, they talk about, of course, the status of, well, actually, no. They're going to hold off on talking about the status of Chateau Sheree and Chateau Sheree, She by Sheree. I forgot what the third thing was, because apparently that's what people try to bring up to her whenever they see her in public. Excuse me. And that's that really for Sheree. Sheree didn't talk anymore, with the exception of the fact Andy's so bad, because Andy was just like, we'll bring up Chateau Sheree and more Manor later on in the reunion. I'm like, oh Lord, are we going to do a poll or something? Is that what's going to happen? Anyway, so after that, which was cute, Sheree didn't really talk much, with the exception of when they were talking about her son. And because, her son, I believe he's 19. Either he's 17 or 19. And the ladies, and when I say the ladies, I mean the cast, were swooning, especially Portia. It was like, Lord Jesus, Portia, step away from the child. Step away from the child. She was like, she was like, 6'6", tall, dark, handsome. I was like, oh. And then Sheree was like, he is a struggling college student, so put some money in his books. I thought that was cute. I'll play on words, but I thought it was cute. So, they talk about Kim Fields coming into the scene, and especially what was going on when Kim was down in DC. And Sheree made a good point. Sheree still stuck by what she said regarding the fact that, you know what, Kim? Love you a lot, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, we were all there because there was a special moment that we were trying to capture. And of course, she didn't feel like the kids should have been there. Kim stood up for herself and said, the way how it was presented to me, it was very important for my kids to be there. And, that's why I had them there. And Sheree's whole argument was just the fact of, Phaedra was calm, cool, and collected because she had help. How come you also didn't bring help with you? And Kim was just like, that's not how I wanted to do things. And I see both sides. I personally feel like Kim, two young kids, especially one who's a toddler, that is a lot to handle. So I don't think it will have hurt for her to have help, because that's just frustrating in general, trying to balance that out. Because I don't care what type of parent you are, that's just frustrating across the board. Two kids to watch, especially in a semi-adult setting or an adult setting. And also, here's the other part. Our kids aren't used to being out, really. So, they're more so the kind that's like, ooh, all this stuff is kind of new to us. So, when you also have that factor, it does make it a lot harder when kids are exposed to more. And I'm not saying more in a bad way, just to more in general. They are accustomed to it, and as a result, they will also act accordingly. Not her toddler, because I understand that's a baby, and regardless, but still, well, anyway, they did bring up the conversation of how Kenya was treating Kim, and they just felt that, how the hell do you go and say, oh, Kim's talking down to you? Because that was Kenya's thing this whole reunion. That was Kenya's thing this whole reunion, of how Kim's been talking down to the group. I'm like, you are not Beyonce. Beyonce, stop it. This is not Formation Part 2. So, that being said, you need to stop going and say, oh, Kim talks down to us, Kim talks down to the group, she's very condescending. It's like, no one has a problem with how Kim talks, with the exception of you. Except for Portia. Portia did feel a certain way about Kim's remarks. And she was just like, you know what? I see you as a big aunt. And aunt, it's like, girl, I'm not that much older than you. Now stop it. Maybe a maturity, but no. So she was like, not aunt, don't do me like that. It was like, okay, big sister, big sister. And they actually did ask, okay, so do you think that Kim Fields was a good fit for the show? Was Kim Fields a good fit for the show? No. Why? Because in order for you to really hang with this group, you do have to come with it or be left in the dust. And is that fair? No. Is that real life? In some people's reality, yes. It actually is in some people's reality. And so Kim was great because it was a different perspective. The only issue is Kim did bounce a lot of the time. It was like, because Kim really isn't that direct, just confrontational like the rest of the cast has learned to be, whether they started or originally were or not. It did make it just feel like she pulled away from a lot of the scenes and the situations. And so we really didn't get to feel what it was like to have the full, in my experience, Kim Fields experience. So there was that. And let's see what goes on after that. Because I already told you what Kim versus Sheree with the whole, oh, was it appropriate or was it not appropriate? I felt that, yes, it was appropriate for her to have her kids there, of course, because Phaedra had hers there. The only difference is Phaedra had help, so Phaedra didn't have to go and deal with the extraness of, okay, this one's fussy, this one's this one's that. And they also touch on the fact that Apollo stuff was at everyone's house. Here's the thing. People still feel a certain way about that, in the sense that, you know what? Apollo was a friend to us as well, so he asked to have his car here, have a few things here, and so we let him. We didn't think that it was an issue. The issue here is that the breakdown in communication, because these people weren't friends anymore at this point, really on speaking terms, and as a result, they didn't think about it to see like, oh, by the way, so. But then again, I'm thinking that maybe because they know Phaedra is trying to just bury this whole Apollo thing, they didn't want to bring it up. That's what I'm actually going to go with. And Cynthia felt the same way, and it was just like, ooh, when the feds came, that was interesting. Very interesting. Let me know if you think that Phaedra said like a sly remark that caused the feds to go check up everyone else's house as well, because they only went to their houses, so it wasn't like they were just going after every cast member, mind you. I don't know if maybe Peter and also Todd said something online which may have tipped the feds off. So there's the thing. And Candy and Phaedra just talk about their friendship and how there was a breakdown in communication and how one's talking about another one's husband, so that made things very hard and awkward. Very hard and awkward. But it was interesting because Sheree was talking, I mean, the receipts were crazy. Stuff was brought up about the fact that, you know, Phaedra, it's funny that you go and say that Todd was whimpering about all this money, but at the end of the day, wasn't it you that also said, well, Todd, I don't do anything unless I get my retainer, regardless of what happens. And so Phaedra quickly rebutted and said, you know, law is different, which is true. And so in the entertainment field, you get paid half when you initially just complete the job. You get the rest once the job is completed. Well, when the product is put out. Yeah. And even though she's right, do we feel that it was right? At the end of the day, Todd did get paid. He got paid, I believe, like a week or two ago before the taping. So I was like, oh, isn't that very convenient? Just so that she could actually say she was all paid up. And Candy was over because she was like, you guys are trying to make it seem like, oh, my husband was just barking for scraps when he put in the work, and now you didn't want to compensate him for that. It's not his problem that you didn't want to do the project because Apollo went to jail and you just had so much going on. That's not how life works. All your businesses still flourish. So what was really going on there? So then Candy, after dealing with Phaedra, had to go up against Portia, and Portia was just like, Don Juan was on 10. You have the little candy-colored clique over there, and I'm not cool with it because at the end of the day, it just feels like I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to talk to you. And so in trying to talk to you, I had to go through Don Juan and Carmen. And that's not right because they were talking about me. They were talking about Phaedra as well. Everything got misconstrued. And so I told you guys it was going to be long. So again, it really was a match between Kandi versus Phaedra and Portia, because Phaedra and Portia were just like, I'm not down with this fakeness and this foolery. How the hell are you gonna go and defend them constantly and they defend you? And Candy's like, yeah, they are my clique because I know they have my back. It's like, they're your employees, so how the hell are they talking to you, like talking to us like that, and they didn't even know the full situation? You need to check that. And she was like, no, they have my back, I have my back, that's it. Afterwards, we have, oh, what do we have? We have, damn, what happened? It was interesting because Kenya tried to say, oh, look, how dare you go and threaten Kandi, or almost insinuate that you would do something to Kandi. That's what Portia was on, like, how dare you say that, especially since you actually threatened Phaedra, you know, a couple of reunions prior. Do you remember that? 4 years ago? You threatened Phaedra when she was 11 months pregnant? Are we just going to pretend like that didn't happen? And again, I don't know if it's because she's pregnant, but Kenya's on this whole woe is me. Well, that's how Kenya usually is. But it's just worse. It's just like, woe is me. Everyone coming down on me. Everybody's so hard on me. And I'm like, Kenya, you bring this upon yourself. This is no one else's issue but your own. You need to get over yourself. Stop doing too much because this is the result of it. And then they bring up the whole situation of Kenya with Cynthia and Kim. And how Kenya was upset because it's like, oh, you and your husband, wow, were going judging me as far as my film, even though you're saying one thing, doing the other, and looking down on me and saying, oh, you Kim Fields. It's like, yeah, she is Kim Fields. And Kandi was like, you know what? Kandi and Shuri were both like, I'm here for that, because at the end of the day, Kim Fields actually stood up for herself, and that's all I wanted to see. She has receipts, and so I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was too much. You need to go and boss up sometimes. That was later in the show, but Kim, of course, was just saying how it's very hard when someone's doing all that to you and to keep your calm. And Kim was just saying how, you know what, I did apologize because I know I was wrong. Pat me on the shoulder for that. It's like, no, you were still crazy. It was funny because no one was here for Kenya on this reunion the whole time. I know that's how it normally is, but I mean, it was worse this time because Sheree was the voice of the people. Every look Sheree gave during a situation, I agreed with. Every single time where I was like, wait a minute, hold up. Did she really just say that? Did that really just happen? Sheree had the same look. I was just talking to Kenny like, yo, Kenny, what is this chick? What's she doing? What's going on? What's real? Because you know Sheree talks fast like that. And I loved it. I really loved Sheree on here just for the sidebar conversations with Kandi. Because you know both of them don't have a problem telling people about themselves. Which is what I love about both of them. So Kim was over it. It was like, oh, give it a rest, honey. Give it a rest. And Kim was like, I'm just thankful to have a husband. A husband that knows me. That knows how to keep me grounded and centered when I have to deal with you fools. No, she didn't go that far. I'm sure she was thinking that about Kenya. Now, aside from that, I'm sorry, guys, but it was crazy when Kenya was trying to say, oh yeah, and Cynthia also was saying how Kenya was wrong for what she did to Kim, and I did talk to her about that because I'm not going to condone something like that. And they were just trying to get it across to Kenya that, look, when you do certain things, it will invoke a certain reaction. If you don't want that reaction, don't do those certain things. I mean, that should be common sense. But for Kenya, for whatever reason, that just goes right over her head. She's just like, you know what, at the end of the day, I can say whatever I want because I can argue with someone and it doesn't get physical. Yes, but when you get in someone's personal space and violate them in that way, don't be surprised if, because it's only human that it's like, I don't know what they're going to do at this point if they're right here and then they're also waving these things. That's a psychological thing that's programmed into all of our minds. Fight or flight. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Not everyone's just going to be more passive and be like, all right, whatever. Just get out of my face and we're good. They might just go, bop, bop, no, I'm not sorry because you were my space. Go away. Yeah, so that was really annoying. I mean, that whole rhetoric was really, really, really annoying. And it didn't get any better from there because, again, you have Kenya playing this whole woe is me, woe is me, woe is me, I'm Kenya Moore, and they're just being so rude and so disrespectful to me. Like I said, Kim wasn't having it. Kim was just like, so are we going to be two adults? Are we going to both talk and speak and get our points across? Or are you just going to say whatever you want to say what you need to say? And this is the part where we come to Kenya was interrupting Kim so much where Kim's just like, look, I say whatever I want to say. You can say whatever you want to say, but you have to be respectful. And it was like, you can't just talk over people to try to get a point across where it's, where it won't mean anything. And that's when Kim was just so pissed. She was like, say something. And it was like, whoa, Kim. Oh, Kim. I was so proud of her. It's so sad that it's like, oh, I was so proud of her for that because it shouldn't even have to get to that point. It shouldn't even have to get to that point. It shouldn't even have to get to that point. Oh, but Kenya had the audacity to go and be like, oh wait, you know, we're pretty much on the same level. Actually, I'm above you right now as far as careers are concerned because, you know, you're on my platform. And so I'm like, Nene, come out here. Nene, come out. Nene, get your ass out here now because we need you. We need you to humble this chick. Humble her right now. That is why we like Nene, because at least with Nene there, Kenya couldn't run around just doing and saying whatever the hell she wanted because almost everyone else would just let her do it. That's the issue. That's the real problem we currently have. And because it's like, at least Kenya initially, I was with her because they're like, yeah, you can't compare the two because they did do different things. They started off on different platforms. But then it was just like, wait a minute, Kenya. Wait a minute, Kenya. Tootie. Kim Fields. The hours and hours of, what do you call it? IMB credits for directing, producing, successful stuff. Kenya Moore also has success, but it's not the same. And I loved it because this is where Kenya was like, I was here for Kim because Kim stood up for herself. She was like, I'm Kim Fields. You better recognize it. It was like, yes, you have to boss up on them. You need to just puff out your chest sometimes and be like, I am me. Hear me roar. You're not going to stop me. You're not going to discredit me. That is not what we're here to do. And I just love the fact that Kim, I mean, everyone was on Kim's side. She could have said anything and everything at this point, and people would have been like, preach, as far as Kenya was concerned, because Kenya was doing too much. So that was it. Please like, comment, subscribe. I know this was pretty long, but there was a lot to get through. And, I mean, whew. This is only part one. You know it's only going to go downhill from here. As far as it'll be entertaining for us, but bad for them. So please like, comment, subscribe. Please like, comment, subscribe. Come back next week. Y'all. This reunion, the editing was a lot better for it than what actually happened. It wasn't as lit as I thought it was going to be. But it had its moments.